the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the fall!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast on this Thursday, May 23rd. Hope you're all well. Special thanks to Playground. Special thanks to Energy Transportation Group. Special thanks to Bittt TV. Special thanks to Accent Insurance Solutions. And we're going to get to them just a little bit later and talk to you about a show that we're actually going to do live next week. We'll do that later on in the podcast. Welcome. Thanks for watching. This podcast has been recorded before tonight's game between the Edmonton Oilers and the Dallas Stars, of course, because everyone wants to watch the playoffs this time of year. It was an 8:30 start, so by now it's probably, by the time you're watching this right now, it's probably midway through the hockey game, and we'll be able to discuss it going forward. Without further ado, though, I want to bring in a gentleman who's a regular collaborator on Wednesdays throughout the entire hockey season, but he joins us tonight on Thursdays of TSN. Hockey analyst and director of scouting, Craig Button. How are you? I don't hear you, Craig, unfortunately. Unfortunately, I don't hear you. Let's see if we can fix this. No, Craig, it's not working out. So let's put Craig probably in the green room, and let's try and figure out what's going on there with Craig. But I'm sure we'll get to him in just a second. Actually, you know what? Now it gives me an opportunity to tell you that next week, on Thursday, May 30th, we will be at Souvlaki Authentique at 1 p.m., and we're going to host a Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro, and then we'll be able to play it for you at night. So if you're going to be there, you'll be able to watch it. It's at 1050 Rue Notre Dame in Lachine, 1 week from today. I'm very much looking forward to it. Everyone knows I love a good souvlaki, and I got to tell you, I hear great things about Souvlaki Authentique, and I hear that Terry and Costa run quite the operation. I'm very much looking forward to passing by, not very far from my house, as a matter of fact, so I plan on taking the Vespa and taking a ride. I look forward to seeing you there. If you want to stop by, it'll be an absolute pleasure to see all of you. Souvlaki Authentique, family-operated Greek restaurants with 7 locations. They use fresh Quebec chicken and fresh Quebec pork, both hand-cut, marinated in-house. The gyro is hand-stacked, in-house, never frozen, no MSG in any of the recipes. Greek potatoes, I love Greek potatoes with that taste of lemon in them. Not your yayas Greek potatoes, unique lemon sauce, thanks to our friends Terry and Costa. I can't wait. The Sick Podcast brought to you in part, of course, by Energy Transportation Group. Once again, recognized as one of Canada's top fleet employers for the 4th consecutive year. Special hello goes out to Mike Cinquino, to Sean Gerard, and David Grassi. It's once again a prestigious accolade, and they foster a workplace of excellence and opportunity. They have an exceptional team, unwavering commitment and contribution. Energy Transportation Group is a top fleet employer. Playground, step into the excitement of Playground with the Mystery High Hand promotion, every day starting at 10 a.m. You have a chance to win a share of over $120,000 in cash prizes, available until May 31st, whether you play from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily or join the late night action from 9 p.m. to 2 p.m. from Sunday to Thursday. You could win up to $25,000. For more details, visit playground.ca. Don't miss out. Swing by Playground and get in on the winning. Bittt TV right behind me, brewed in Quebec, a winner of a dozen international awards. Bittt TV offers quality microbrewery beers made with premium ingredients for everyone's taste. Bittt TV, embrace your true nature. All right, I'm going to bring up, Craig Button is going to join us momentarily, but I want to bring up his top 10 list that Craig put out there if I can. And Craig's list has garnered a lot of reaction. Now, when you're a hockey junkie, there's a couple of people for, I would say now, a very, very long time, maybe a decade, maybe even 2 decades, where you've really paid attention to lists. One is Bob McKenzie, and one is Craig Button, of course. And what Bob McKenzie usually does is I think he goes around and he talks to as many teams as he can, and he tries to get a consensus of where teams think players will go. And once he gets their top 10, then he basically averages everything out, and then he ends up putting out his list. How does Craig do it? We're going to find out. I'm going to ask him. He's back. Craig, you good?
I'm good. Sorry about that.
Don't worry about it.
I guess we need a little bit of a reboot on the computer, but
don't worry about it. No harm, no foul.
So I heard what you said about Bob, and basically Bob and I do 2 different exercises, and yet the players that show up on both of our lists are mostly the same. Now, what Bob does is exactly what he does. He canvasses NHL scouting directors, player personnel directors, and he gives you a really great view of how a draft will unfold, what NHL teams are thinking about players at different points of the draft. And I mean, it's been that way for 30 years with Bob. I used to joke with, I know when I was with the team, we looked at Bob's list and we said, geez, this is, we better pay attention when we're trying to factor in what players may be available, what players may not be available. That's how accurate Bob has been over the years. My exercise is taking a list and doing what the NHL teams do and making a list, projecting the players out, where I think they can be, who I think will be the best players in 3 to 5 years' time. When they're, 21 to 23 years of age, players take different paths and different timelines, but that's what I do. So I'm doing a projection. Bob is giving you a real glimpse into how the draft could unfold.
All right, perfect. I was saying that your list, and let's bring it back up if we can. There's quite a bit of reaction to it. In particular, one pick in particular, I think I've got some feedback. As a matter of fact, a couple of people got a hold of me and said, "Whoa, kind of surprised of where Craig has this guy." Who do you think most people are surprised about?
I really don't know.
The calls that I got and the text that I got, there's a few that are surprised with Consta Helenius. So this is interesting because if you take a look at a lot of lists, you're not going to find Consta Helenius at number 3, which you have him at number 3. And I find this really interesting because every year it seems like, or it happens very often, that there's someone that gains a lot of traction and gains a lot of ground, and then all of a sudden they end up inserting themselves in the top 10 when maybe 2 months ago they probably weren't, or maybe inserts themselves in the top 5 when maybe 2 months ago they probably weren't. Here in Montreal, we saw that with Jesperi Kotkaniemi, who was on some lists at 16, 17, 18, and the Montreal Canadiens took him at 5, and if memory serves me well, a couple of days before the draft, he started to enter into top 5 and top 6 lists. So let's go through the list, and I'd love to get all the intel I can on Consta Helenius because now you're really interested me in this. Celebrini's number 1 on your list. Demidov is number 2 on your list. Helenius is number 3 on your list. TJ Gillen has been able to make his way up to number 4. Zane Parik, number 5. Zev Bayam, number 6. Lev Shunov, number 7. Dickinson, number 8. Yzerman, number 9. Lindstrom, number 10. I know you don't care about other people's lists because you have your own. I think that's pretty cool. But would it be safe to say, based on maybe where most other scouts would have their lists, that probably Lindstrom and Helenius would be inverted? Yes, no, and what can you tell me on Helenius?
Here's what I'll tell you. Kotkaniemi went 3 in that draft, not 5. Consta Helenius has been in my top 10, top 8 all season long.
Yeah,
there's been that. Consta Helenius for me has not come out of any kind of deep dark cave. He has been there. So and again, and I say this constantly. NHL teams, their top 10 lists, 32 NHL team lists will all be different. All of them will be different, Tony.
Correct.
Every single one. You will not find one that's the same. So that's the first thing that you try to do. Now, listen, I'll just touch on 5 to 8 with the defenders.
Yeah, and by the way, before you do, I don't know if I said Kotkaniemi at 5, so if I apologize, if I did so, I apologize. He definitely was number 3 with the Canadians in his draft year. Yes,
no problem.
Yeah.
So those 4 defensemen, Perek, William, Lefshunov, I think they've separated themselves as the 4, as the quartet of listen, I think they're all different. I think they're all good. I think they're all top pair. I think maybe all 4 of them could be number 1s. They could go in any order. At some point in time, you got to put a number. You got to say 5, 6, 7, 8. So those are things. When it comes to Konsta, I think he's got a brain like Sasha Barkov, and the skill that he possesses is really, to me, really high end. I think that he's got some physical maturity to go through. But when I watch him play, and I've watched him play now for well over 2 years, I see somebody, when I talk about projecting, I think by the time he hits 21 years of age, you're looking at a player that I think can make a real impact as a number 1 center.
Wow.
He's different than Caden Lindstrom. I love Caden Lindstrom. And Caden Lindstrom is a big, strong, forceful center. And maybe Caden Lindstrom's like Jordan Staal. Jordan Staal went 2 in his draft year. Jonathan Toews went 3. Now, there's no way anybody can tell me that Jordan Staal going to the Pittsburgh Penguins was a pick that was in any way, shape, or form wrong. Jonathan Toews goes 3. So when I'm looking at Caden Lindstrom, and if he can be a Jordan Staal, Jonathan Toews mix, a big, strong, powerful, that's a really good player. But if Helenius, in my view, could be like a Sasha Barkov, and remember, when the Florida Panthers took him number 2 in that draft, there were some eyebrows raised about Sasha Barkov. But much like Sasha, and I'd watched Sasha play for a number of years, doesn't surprise me. Am I saying I'm right? No. But bottom line is, this is how I look at it. This is how I project it. And I have Celebrini and Demidov like 1-2 clear cut, draw a line under each one of them. After that, it's wide open for a lot of different assessment and a lot of different calculations on where you think a player can develop to and to what he can develop to. And if Caden Lindstrom went 3, I wouldn't sit there and go, oh my God, what's going on here? They're all good players.
Yeah. You know what I find interesting, though, when you talked about Helenius being a number 1 center potential, in your opinion, you talked about Barkov and where he went in the draft. He went 2nd, correct? If I'm not mistaken, right?
You're correct.
Barkov's a big man. Very, very big man. I know you said Helenius has some physical maturing to do, but I see him here listed as 5'11". I'm trying to think, and I'm sure you can help me out now because you know the draft like the back of your hand this year, the year before that, 10 years before, and 20 years before. The last time a centerman in his draft year listed at 5'11", well, there was Connor Bedard, obviously, but there's still the jury's out whether he's a centerman or a winger. For some,
he center the whole year. The jury's not out in Chicago.
Yeah, the jury's not out in Chicago.
The whole year.
Yeah,
the only time Connor Bedard's played right wing is with Team Canada.
Yeah,
and I'll say this: if you think about Connor Bedard, they put him on right wing. Players have to play out of position. It happens everywhere on Team Canada.
Yes,
he was a dominant player at center ice. We know how dominant he was at right wing. What happens if they left him in his natural position? How good he could be. He was a center all year long for the Chicago.
You're right. But how many have there been though that fit listed at 5'11" that ended up going top 3, top 4 traditionally in the drafts? Have there been many? I mean, we know
Celebrini. They list him at 6 foot. He might be 5'11" and a half. So we're talking about this much now.
Yeah.
We're going to make this much of a difference. Braden Point. Helenius might be a combination of Barkov, Braden Point. And I know Braden Point went in the 3rd round, but bottom line is I don't scout with a tape measure. I have Cole Hudson in my 1st round, and I keep questioning myself, do I have him high enough? I had Lane Hudson in the 1st round in his draft year. Clearly, I didn't have him high enough. I even said this about Lane Hudson. I said if Lane Hudson was 5'11" in his draft year, he would have been in consideration for 1st overall. I believe that. But he wasn't. He was 5'7" and 3/4 or 5'8" in that quarter. And for me, Helenius, I don't scout with a tape measure. I watch what he does. When I watch Consta play, I don't see anything that overwhelms him in terms of the game, the tightness of the game, the skill of the game, the speed of the game, the size of players. All he does is perform. That's what I'm assessing.
Yeah. Perfect. So, and Crosby's another guy who probably wasn't 6 foot and probably listed at
Still
5'11".
isn't 6 foot.
Yeah. You're right about that. Okay. So, why do you think, not that it matters, but we're having a good conversation here, that he's been overlooked by some? And I haven't seen anybody put him as high as number 3. Like, obviously, I know you can't speak for other people, right? But there are some people that are doing this work that have some concerns. What are you hearing? What are the concerns that they have that you can dismiss?
I don't know what concerns they have. You know, if I went out and started looking at everybody else's concerns when I'm evaluating players, I'd never have time to evaluate players. I'm evaluating players, Tony, based on what I think translates to the NHL. You're looking at 17 and 18-year-old players. There's challenges built into that exercise in and of itself, and you're trying to project where they'll be. But I'm looking at all the skills they have, the attributes, what type of player I think they can be. You know, I've watched Consta play at the under 17, at the Hlinka Gretzky, at the World Junior, at now at the World Championships, all different sample sizes. I've seen him play in his league. So all I can do is go by what I think. Like, there's no perfect players. I said this, I think I said it earlier today in a social media tweet. I said, unless your name is McDavid or Bedard, there's no consensus. You're not going to get consensus. You'll get consensus on the McDavids, the Bedards, the Crosbys, and then you go from there. And then it becomes a case of projecting out why you think a player can move out. I'm looking at the skills that I think can translate to the NHL and the skills that I think matter for a young player. And we're dealing with players that have all been good. They've all been good at the levels below them. I mean, if you go look at what Consta Helenius has done in the SM Liga, which is the pro league, all through his 17, while he was 17 years of age, very few players have done that. So you're doing that already in a pro league. You watch the way he thinks, you watch the way he skates. And so to me, that's where I'm at. So I don't have time, be straightforward with you, to go worry about other people's concerns. NHL teams are like, they have their own debates and their own discussions internally. And what really matters is, and I used to get asked this when I was with NHL teams. Well, can you tell us about the top, and Bob McKenzie would phone, how would you rank the top 5 guys? Bob, we're picking 25. We haven't spent any time watching the top 5 guys. Can't help you. Sorry.
Wow.
Because if teams that are picking 20 are paying attention to guys that are, like, I'll be straightforward with you. Like, you only have so much time to go out and scout during the course of a season.
Of course.
So many weekends, you only have so many opportunities to view players. You got to know where you're picking and who not to waste your time on. Like if I see teams that are in the playoffs going and watching Macklin Celebrini, I'm telling you, that's a waste of their scouting effort and scouting dollars. You shouldn't be there. You don't need to be watching Macklin Celebrini. Now, if you're going to watch Macklin Celebrini and you want to go and you're picking in the top 10 and they're playing Denver and you want to watch Steve Bulliam or they're playing Michigan State or BU earlier in the year played Cole Iserman, okay, I get it. But when you get down the stretch and you get into February and March, you don't have time to go watching players that are at the top end.
No, but if you're going to have like the 26th pick overall, for example, though, and a guy that you probably have around 8th or 9th overall on your list, you can go watch him, right? Because there's always a possibility of making a deal that team that's picking 9th may want to trade. No,
Tony, teams don't make trades at the draft. It's rare. It's rare, Tony. Just go back. You gave me the whole background and the data set on the 5th overall pick for the Montreal Canadiens.
Yes.
A couple of years ago, there was one trade in the first round. The Arizona Coyotes moved up to 11. They took Victor Soderstrom. Philadelphia moved back to 14 and took Cam York. And they took Cam York right ahead of Cole Caulfield.
Yeah, but look, in the last 2 years, though, Craig, pardon me, but didn't the Montreal Canadiens trade a couple of draft picks for Kirby Dach? Didn't they trade a couple of draft picks for Newhook? And in both cases,
they traded. I'm talking about moving in and around the draft.
I got it. Okay,
I'm talking about moving in and around the draft. Everybody talks about, you move up, you move down. But Steve Yzerman saw Mo Seider. It was his first year in Detroit. He looked to trade. He goes, wait a second, I'm not going to get the guy I want. He didn't trade back, and yet people were going, can you believe he took Mo Seider there? And so the point is,
great pick.
Well, you take the player that you've done a lot of work on, that you believe in, that you have confidence in, and you go from there. Cole Caulfield, and I made this comment, I'll go back to Cole Caulfield.
Yes.
Well, people would say to me, and I had Cole Caulfield high, we know what he's done in the NHL, and we know what he will continue to do in the NHL, in my view. When I look at Cole Caulfield, I kept saying, where does it say, I mean, we're talking about an elite goal scorer. Where does it say anywhere that you need to be a certain height to be an elite goal scorer? And I mean, in his elite goal scorer, and yet everybody was going, well, what about his height? Well, what about his height? It's like, here's the three things you need to be able to do to be an elite goal scorer. You need to be able to get open and to be able to understand where those openings are. That's the first thing you need to do. The second thing you need to do is be able to get that shot off while players, you got to be able to anticipate what I call taking tough pucks. Not every puck is good. Then you got to get that shot off while players are trying to block shots, get your stick there. Then you got to beat the goalie. Those are the three elements of goal scoring.
It's funny.
Height doesn't come into it, Tony. Height doesn't come into it.
It's funny you're saying this because I remember watching some video that was on Habs TV back in the day where they showed you at the Montreal Canadiens draft table, right? So there's Marc Bergevin and there's Trevor Timmins and there was Scott Mellenby and there was Shane Churla and Serge Boisvert and Martin Lapointe and the Montreal Canadiens scouting staff at the time when they drafted Cole Caulfield 15th overall. And so they draft Cole Caulfield and then at one point, Claude Julien comes around, who was the coach of the team, and says, try and draft me a couple of goal scorers, eh? And Marc Bergevin says to Trevor Timmins, he says, talk to him about Cole. And Trevor Timmins says to him, he says, he finds open ice and he battles for ice. And he says, and he gets goals in close, in tight. And so you just talked about it. It's about battling for ice and finding open ice. And then, of course, the shot comes into play. And we know he's got a major league shot. The small thing is only an impediment, of course, if you're not going to be willing to pay the price or go to those areas where most goals are scored. But if you're willing to do that, it doesn't matter what your size. Dino Ciccarelli wasn't a big guy. He scored a lot of goals.
600 in his NHL career. And that's a great example. I mean, Marty St. Louis, and who coaches Cole Caulfield and has really helped Cole. Like when Marty came in, Cole was in a little bit of a drought. And Marty said, wait a second, you're too far away from the net. And Cole, oh, yeah, that's right. Like good goal scorers. Again, like everything being equal, Tony, you want the bigger guy over the smaller player.
Yeah.
Rarely is everything equal, though. That's the challenge.
Yeah. Hey, I want to set the record straight on something here. Let's bring back up your draft list.
Okay.
Today, it was much a topic of conversation. I was doing French radio, BPM Sports, with George Larac. I was co-hosting with George today, and we had a contributor on, David Ettigy, formerly of the Sports Corporation, used to work for the same firm as Jerry Johansson.
Yep.
And, David said, we were talking about your list, and David said, Tony, I'd be willing to bet you anything that the first four players that are going to get drafted, there's going to be a defenseman in there somewhere. And basically what I think that is not clear to a lot of people is Craig Button is not saying that, the team that drafts second is going to take Demidov and the team that drafts third is going to take Kalenius and the team that drafts fourth is going to take Iginla, because he's talked to all their scouts and they tell him that that's where they're leaning. Craig is putting together, Craig, correct me if I'm wrong, his top 10 list of A, what he sees, and B, what he's projecting. When all is said and done, he thinks that these are going to be the top 10 players to come out of that draft class. That's the way it is. Now, having said that, now that we got that out of the way and we got that clear, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if that's not accurate, Craig, when the term that was used today to me was that it's impossible that four forwards will go in the first four picks, I said, I don't think four forwards will go in the first four picks, but impossible is a very big word, because four forwards can go in the first four picks, because if teams think that there's 4, 5, 6 defensemen that can be anywhere up and down in the draft, they might wait. Is it impossible that four forwards go in the first four picks? Is it impossible?
Well, how does Bedard, Carlson, Fantilli, and Will Smith sound? Oh, they were the first four forwards in last year's draft.
Correct, but the counter argument will be that those defensemen are superior to David Reinbacher.
Well, maybe
That's
they
what
are.
some
but
will
I mean,
say.
okay, well, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I mean, the debate last year was. I mean, this is what I find very interesting, and it is, and it's good debate. It's good discussion. This isn't
Yes, it is.
about this isn't about right or wrong or everything. Now, and I know what you're saying about impossible. Would I sit here and say that like a defenseman won't go in the top 4? Listen, a defenseman could go 2, a defenseman could go 3. I think all those defensemen are top pair defensemen. So depending on where a team is at, how they look at it, they could do that. And so when I look at the draft and I look at, you think about size. And so last year, how can teams not take Michkov? Because there was a narrative that Michkov was and he is a really good player. Don't get me wrong. But why didn't guys come in? Why is there now a conversation about size with Hellenius, yet there's not a conversation with size on Michkov, right? And then how can Montreal take Reinbacher? I'll tell you why they take Ryan. They liked him more than Michkov. That's why they took him. Like, it's not very hard to figure out why a team takes a player over another player.
Safer pick too.
I don't think teams go for safe. I think teams go for who they like.
Okay, good. But listen, you would know a lot more than me. I'll tell you that
I don't know
right
if I
now.
would know. That's my belief, Tony.
Hey, I'm gonna put you on the spot here, but I know you're. I can't wait to hear this answer. Okay,
I'm putting on my seatbelt. I'm putting on the harness.
Look, I don't know if you're gonna answer this, but usually when you ask a chef for a recipe they're not going to give away their trade secrets. Having said that, I'm going to ask anyway. Can I ask how you scout? I'm curious. Like, what do you? If I was sitting in the stands at an arena, and there's a junior hockey game going on right now, and I'm sitting next to you, and I'm like, Craig, I want to learn the business. What are you looking at? Can you tell me?
I'll tell you. Putting me on the spot, I have no problem. And there's different ways to scout, and everybody does it differently, and some people do it the same. The first thing we can all go to games, Tony. I don't care who you are, and you see players that have the obvious skill. So, I think that is. I'm not going to say that that's hard, but that's obvious. The first thing I try to do is when I start watching players, you try to get a feel. I'll tell you about Logan Stankoven. I'm at U17. I'm watching him, and it's in the summer. And you keep watching, and I start when I don't know players. I'm just watching, and all of a sudden, like, who just made that play? Oh, that's Logan Stankoven. Okay, that's guys that have the puck. Claude Ruel. You know what Claude Ruel told me when I first started scouting? Here's what he told me. He said, Craig, watch the guy that has the puck all the time. The guy that has the puck all the time, that's usually the good player. So, you try to get a feel for like who keeps showing up on your radar or your eyes, right? Who keeps appearing. Then from there, I try, what type of player is that? Is that an offensive center? Is it a scorer? Is it a power winger? And then I try to go deeper into the definition. Okay, to be a really good power winger, what do you need? What skills and attributes? It's different than being a skilled center. A defensive defenseman like a Jacob Slavin, who's a very unique player, is very different than let's say Erik Karlsson. You're evaluating Erik Karlsson, so it's Zane Parekh. When I'm watching Zane Parekh, like, all these players have developmental areas. But I watch Zane Parekh and I go, that offensive game that he has, he's a skilled defenseman, and he's going to generate points. So that's what I evaluate him on. You look and go, okay, does he do this well? Can he learn that and everything? You look at TJ Ginla. TJ Ginla is different than Caden Lidstrom. They play different positions. I know that in Kelowna they're talking about potentially moving him into the middle of the ice. But I try to look at, what's the type of player you're getting? What type of player does he project as? And then really being hard might be the wrong word, but being really defined in those areas that say you've got to be good in these areas to be that type of player. There's a lot of players, and we see a lot of players with skill, but they don't have enough skill to carry that to the next level. Then you start to go, okay, well, now what can they be? And if they can't, if you say a guy's going to be a skilled forward, and he can't he can't create plays in tight spaces. He can't do things quickly. That's not going to translate to the NHL. So you're always having an eye on you need to know what the NHL requires for you to have success there. And then you're going back in time, watching the players, and then working it over a period of time.
Hey, you see why he told you exactly what he looks at and why he scouts and all that stuff? Some chefs, once again, won't give away their recipe, but some do. You want to know why? Because if they give it to someone who's less passionate, that person, even though they'll have all the recipes and all the ingredients and all the steps, it just won't taste the same. I get stopped every day. People say, how do you do radio? How do you do TV? How do you do podcasting? And I tell them, I'm an open book. I tell them everything. And my wife says, that's pretty cool, but I can't believe you actually told them everything. And you said all your trade secrets. And I said, babe, at the end of the day, they're going to need my passion if they want to match. You're going to need Craig's passion. He can give you away all his secrets that he wants, but you have to have his passion. And I know how passionate he is about the game. And now we've got a better understanding of how Craig Button scouts players and why he loves Consta Helenius so much.
I love TJ Ginla too. A couple of things that I want. I will send you like a scouting manual that over the years I continue to use it and work. And just for your own, you can take a look at it. I have no problem. I have no problem sharing that with you. I took a scouting certificate course once upon a time, by the way. I don't know how much weight it carries or not, but Sports Management Worldwide was the. Yeah, I know the group there, but
I took it. Yeah,
when you work, and I've talked to their group, but like. There's lots of ways to learn. There's not learning a lot, learning a little. If you want to continue to learn and keep an open mind, that's good. You know, like I said, like think about how simple Claude Ruel made it for me. Great. Just watch the guy that has the puck all the time. That's the good player. Well, okay.
I graduated with honors. By the way, I took a gym course, graduated honors. I also took a soccer agency course. But
so let me tell you, we drafted Jerome McGinley. We drafted Jerome McGinley 11th overall.
Yes.
He was rated 26 by NHL Central Scouting.
Wow.
26. There was a lot of people that raised their eyebrows when we drafted Jerome 11th. Wow. Including the late Frank Bonello, who I love Frank Bonello.
Yes.
I'll tell you what happened. So what happened is that we drafted him 11. They had him rated 26. A lot of teams were saying to Frank, well, what's going on here? And so Frank came over and he asked me, he goes, hey, want to understand? I said, we really liked him. He goes, yeah, we didn't see him as much, trying to understand. So Frank, in the moment, was continuing to try to learn what an NHL team had seen them that maybe Central Scouting him as. And the other thing I told Frank, I said, Frank, this was during the 94-95 lockout. A lot of teams, you included, didn't get a chance to watch the players as much as other teams. We had the luxury of being able to never stop scouting that year. A lot of teams put their scouting efforts on mothballs until the season started in January of 95. So those are things that factor in. But I joke about this, and I've joked with Jerome. We drafted Jerome 11th overall, and here's how we projected him. Power forward, we thought he could score 30, maybe 35 goals. We were so wrong. We were so wrong, and we were right, but so wrong because he was a superstar, 600 plus goals, everything that he did. And I when I've been watching Tej, I keep saying to myself, don't underestimate Tej like you may have underestimated Jerome.
I'm not underestimating Tej, and I never underestimate you because everyone knows just how good you are. He's Craig Button, Director of Scouting and TSN Hockey Analyst. Thanks for doing this, my man. We'll talk to you again soon.
We will. Thanks.
And thanks for putting out a top 10 list that gave us so much to talk about and so much reaction. Special thanks to Energy Transportation Group, Bittt Tibi, and Playground. And once again, I am very much looking forward to heading out to Slovakia Authentique 1 week from today on Thursday, May 30th. I'm going to be there at 1 p.m. You can watch while I broadcast the Sick podcast with Tony Marinaro, and we'll play later on that night at 1050 Rue Notre Dame. And special thanks to the great people there, of course, who run a great operation and a great restaurant. I'm talking about Terry and Costa. Special thanks to all of you for watching. If you like it, comment SICK, S-I-C-K, share it with all your friends. Leave us a 5-star review on Instagram. It's a 5-star review on Apple, by the way. Pardon me, not Instagram. But you know what? Like all of our Instagram posts too. Why not? And our Twitter posts as well. It's our way of feeling the love for Agnello and Sammy. Master Control, they're Cavallaro. I'm Marinaro.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow The Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. Bittt, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.